Welcome back to In Business. The Pentagon is looking to cut costs, and Defense Secretary Robert Gates says he wants to save $100 billion over the next 5 years by spending less, specifically on contractors, and becoming more efficient. Now, these cuts could have an impact, a real one, on the defense sector and companies like Boeing and Lockheed. Cai Von Rumohr is a top-ranked analyst on defense stocks from Cowen Co. He joins us this morning. Now, I know, Cai, when you're trying to sort of handicap just what this means for the companies that you cover, the lack of specificity is as a bit of a problem. What is it that you see as really on the chopping block with this $100 billion in cost savings that's being sought here, and what is it going to mean for Boeing?
Well, I think what Secretary Gates is saying is that DoD needs not just to cut weapons, but needs to look at its own infrastructure, needs to look at the outsourcing that it does, needs to look at the health care premiums that the services pay. And that's really something new. He's not being very specific because I think he wants the service heads to make some of those decisions. That initiative in and of itself probably is a bigger deal for the pure services companies like CACI, Mantech, SAIC, a bit of a less of an issue for Boeing. I think there's a separate issue for the platform builders, which is in every other defense spending downturn, if you're looking to save money, they almost always look at the weapons account, and those are the companies that derive money from weapons.
So the decision to try to cut back on contractors is essentially a backdoor way at trying to control health care costs? I mean, is that the prime concern right now?
Well, I think, the basic issue is we have a large ballooning national debt, and we have to address the issue, and defense is being asked to participate. And so he's looking for the first time at the number of generals, at the number of commands, at health care costs. He's looking wherever he can find ways to cut costs so that he doesn't have to cut back on the weapons we need, and so that we retain capability to fight where we need to.
Cai, what he's really doing then is not cutting the top line of the defense budget, but actually saying let's take $100 billion in savings and put it into weapon systems and other support for the people on the front line. So it's not talking about reducing the defense budget per se, rather redirecting
absolutely.
it.
Right, no, I agree with that. I agree with that totally. But I think ultimately, if you want to cut the defense budget, it will come around to cutting weapons. I agree with you totally that he's trying to avoid doing that, and that's exactly the purpose of it. How much he's actually able to do, we'll see. But I agree with that totally.
Well, I guess handicapping how much he will be able to do also gets back to your wheelhouse and the time that you spent on Capitol Hill before being defense secretary. This is a very hard thing to do. You had tried proposing to make defense budget cuts as well.
Indeed, it's one of the toughest things. As a matter of fact, the defense budget increased when I was there with my recommendation. With Secretary Gates right now, what he's trying to do is launch a kind of a preemptive strike saying, look, we know that there are going to be some reductions in the coming years. Here's how I would reshape the budget in order to make it more efficient. The problem is going to be is we're looking at elections coming up in November. The likelihood is more Republicans will be elected to the House and the Senate. They will tend to be much more resistant to cuts than perhaps the current makeup of Congress is. So it's going to be difficult for him. He's already seen resistance by the Virginia delegation. To be sure, there'll be others.
All right, Cai, so the bottom line for Lockheed, for Northrop, for Raytheon, for all of the companies out there is they're going to have to look more to overseas clients?
Certainly, they're all looking to foreign arms sales, and I think foreign arms sales will be growing over the coming years.
Who's the prime buyer out there? Is it China?
The prime
No.
The prime buyer?
I mean, if you're talking about international growth really being where these companies are going to have to focus right now, what specifically are you talking about?
I think just as Secretary Cohen mentioned, I mean, I think it's Saudi Arabia, I think it's the UAE, I think it's South Korea. I think that's probably where the sales are going to be going. But I think we need to be a little bit cautious while they're throwing around enormous numbers like 60 billion. You know, if you look at the entire Saudi wish list, it's enormous, and some of that's going to be bought, but not all of it. And whenever they go up to Congress, they always come up with a sale that is kind of the maximum number they're likely to request.
You could also put India on that list, that we are now making a very serious attempt to expand our relationship with India on a military basis, and there are big potential sales coming up there.
Absolutely.
Cai, you sound like a skeptic that $60 billion is going to get a little smaller, possibly. We'll track what happens with that deal and the progress of it and check back in with you. Thank you very much.
Terrific. Thank you.